In the late 2000s, the internet became a vast sea of information, but the deeper, darker waters known as the deep web hid secrets that should never be unearthed. Among urban legends and terrifying accounts, one specific story took on a life of its own, haunting those brave or foolish enough to investigate it. Julia was an investigative journalist known for her daring stories and her inclination to explore the unknown. On a quiet night, while browsing discussion forums on the deep web, she came across a topic titled The Hidden File. Curious, she clicked the link and was taken to a page full of warnings and horror stories. The messages spoke of a forbidden video, supposedly cursed, that brought disturbing visions and, in some cases, death to its viewers. Determined to uncover the truth, Julia spent sleepless nights searching for more information. She talked to hackers, interviewed digital security experts, and even contacted a former FBI agent who had investigated cybercrimes. They all told her to give up. However, her journalistic instinct was stronger than fear. Finally, after days of searching, she found an encrypted address and a password. Julia accessed the file. The screen flickered, revealing a black and white video dated from the 90s. The footage showed a group of people in a macabre ritual, surrounded by strange symbols and candles. In the center, a hooded figure mumbled inaudible words. The camera shook as if the operator was scared. Suddenly, the figure raised its head, revealing a disfigured face with black, empty eyes. Julia felt a shiver run down her spine. Before she could close the video, the figure looked directly at the camera and whispered her name. In the following days, strange events began to happen. Julia constantly felt watched. Shadows lurked at the corners of her vision, and an incessant whisper echoed in her mind. Delving deeper, she discovered that the video was part of an abandoned investigation into an ancient cult known for summoning malevolent entities through filmed rituals. Desperate, Julia decided to return to the deep web to seek a solution. She contacted a former cult member who revealed that the only way to break the curse was to destroy the original tape and all its records. But the file was not in the physical world. It was a corrupted data fragment circulating on the deep web, perpetuated by fear and curiosity. Julia disappeared without a trace, but left one last article warning about the dangers of digging too deep. Her laptop was found open to the same cursed video, but this time the hooded figure was staring intently at the screen with a sinister smile. To this day, they say the video still circulates on the deep web, waiting for its next victim. The legend of the hidden file continues to haunt deep web surfers, reminding them that some truths are better left buried. In the days following Julia's disappearance, her family and friends were desperate for answers. The police, unable to trace her deep web activities, considered the case a mysterious disappearance. However, some of her colleagues, familiar with Julia's investigations, began their own searches, determined to uncover what had happened to her. Among them was Marcos, an ethical hacker and close friend of Julia's. He knew the key to finding Julia lay in the deep web, in that same cursed file. Armed with advanced tools and his own determination, Marcos dove into the depths of the internet, facing cyber threats and cryptic messages trying to dissuade him. After weeks of searching, Marcos found a second video, hidden within the same encrypted address. This time, the footage was more disturbing. It showed a hooded figure, similar to the one in the first video, surrounded by strange symbols. The camera revealed a dark room where Julia was tied to a chair, her eyes wide with terror. The figure whispered inaudible words while Julia struggled to break free. Desperate, Marcos tried to trace the video's physical location, but all his efforts were in vain. The figure seemed to have a supernatural power over the data, erasing trails and leaving only a path of fear and paranoia. He began to realize that the cult behind the videos was not just an urban legend, but a terrifying reality. Determined to break the cycle of terror, Marcos decided to use his skills to spread the truth. He compiled all the information he had gathered about the cult and the cursed videos and published an extensive article on the surface web, warning the public about the dangers of the deep web and the curses hidden in its files. Despite his efforts, Marcos never found Julia. The video of her tied and frightened continued to haunt him. He knew that as long as the cursed file existed, more victims would fall into its grasp. But his warning brought new awareness about the hidden dangers in the deep web, and the legend of the hidden file became a sinister warning for all digital navigators. Even today, those who venture into the depths of the deep web are advised to avoid certain files and forums. The stories about the hidden file continue to circulate, reminding everyone that some truths are better left buried. And in the shadows of the internet, the hooded figure waits, ready to whisper the name of its next victim. The deep web is a place of shadows, where the boundary between the digital and the paranormal blurs. Among the many tales that circulate in this hidden realm, one story stands out. A tale so terrifying that it has become the stuff of legend among those who dare to explore the darkest corners of the internet. Ethan was a cybersecurity expert with a fascination for the unknown. His curiosity often led him to the deep web, where he would probe the secrets hidden in its depths. One night, while browsing a notorious forum, he stumbled upon a thread titled The Whispering Web. The post was cryptic, warning users about a cursed website that, once accessed, would lead to a series of inexplicable and horrifying events. Intrigued, Ethan decided to investigate further. The thread contained a series of coordinates and a complex sequence of commands needed to access the site. Ignoring the ominous warnings from other users, Ethan followed the instructions meticulously. As he input the final command, his screen went black, and a chilling whisper echoed through his speakers. "Welcome to the Whispering Web." The screen flickered back to life, displaying a rudimentary web page with a single video file labeled "Watch Me." Against his better judgment, Ethan clicked on the file. The video began with grainy footage of an old, abandoned house, the camera slowly panning through its decaying rooms. The atmosphere was oppressive, filled with an unsettling silence. Suddenly, the camera stopped at a large, ornate mirror, and Ethan's heart skipped a beat as he saw a shadowy figure standing just out of sight. The figure moved closer, its features obscured by the darkness. Then, as if aware of Ethan's presence, it raised a hand and pointed directly at the camera. The whispering grew louder, incomprehensible words filling the room. Ethan tried to shut off his computer, but it was unresponsive. The whispers intensified, now sounding like a cacophony of voices, each one more desperate and sinister than the last. Panicking, Ethan yanked the power cord from his computer. The screen went dark, but the whispers persisted, filling his mind. Over the next few days, Ethan's life became a nightmare. He saw shadows moving in his peripheral vision, heard whispers behind him, and felt an overwhelming sense of dread. His once orderly apartment became a prison, and he was plagued by nightmares of the shadowy figure. Desperate for help, Ethan reached out to his friend Sarah, a paranormal investigator. Skeptical but concerned, Sarah agreed to investigate. She arrived at Ethan's apartment with her equipment, determined to find a rational explanation. As she set up her cameras and audio recorders, the air grew cold and the whispers returned, now louder and more insistent. Sarah managed to capture the phenomena on her equipment, unseen voices and shadowy movements. Reviewing the footage, she noticed something chilling. The shadowy figure from the video was now appearing in Ethan's apartment. Convinced that they were dealing with something beyond their understanding, Sarah decided to seek the help of an occult expert, Dr. Matthias, who had experience with digital hauntings. Dr. Matthias explained that the Whispering Web was not just a cursed website, but a gateway to a malevolent entity that fed on fear and despair. The entity had latched onto Ethan, using the whispers to break down his sanity. To sever the connection, they needed to perform a digital exorcism, a complex ritual involving both ancient rites and modern technology. The ritual took place at midnight, with Dr. Matthias guiding Ethan and Sarah through the steps. As they recited the incantations and input specific commands into Ethan's computer, the whispers grew deafening and the shadowy figure materialized, thrashing and writhing in a desperate attempt to maintain its hold. The room shook and the air crackled with energy as they reached the climax of the ritual. With a final, forceful command, the entity let out a piercing scream and vanished, leaving the room in an eerie silence. The whispers ceased, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. Ethan collapsed in exhaustion, finally free from the torment that had haunted him. In the aftermath, Ethan's experience became a cautionary tale among deep web explorers. The story of the Whispering Web served as a grim reminder of the dangers lurking in the darkest corners of the internet. Those who heard the tale were warned to be wary of their curiosity, for some doors, once opened, could never be closed again. And in the digital shadows, the entity waits, ever ready to ensnare its next victim. The deep web is a realm of shadows and secrets where the curious can find more than they bargained for. Among the countless stories of horror and mystery, one tale is whispered about with a mix of fear and fascination, the tale of the digital seance. Clara was a tech-savvy university student with a penchant for the supernatural. She spent her free time exploring the deep web, seeking out the strangest and most obscure corners of the internet. One evening, while browsing a hidden forum dedicated to paranormal enthusiasts, she came across a thread titled "Digital Seance: Speak with the Dead Online." The thread described a website that claimed to connect users with the spirits of the deceased through a sophisticated AI program. The site was said to be run by a mysterious group of technomancers who combined ancient rituals with modern technology. Skeptical but intrigued, Clara decided to investigate further. She followed a series of encrypted links and inputted a series of arcane commands until she finally reached the site. The home page was minimalist, displaying a simple message. Welcome to the digital seance. Enter the name of the deceased you wish to contact. Below was a text box and a button labeled Begin. Clara hesitated for a moment before typing in the name of her late grandmother, whom she had been very close to. With a deep breath, she clicked the button. The screen went black, and then a soft, ethereal glow filled the room. A series of chimes played, and words began to appear on the screen, connecting to the spirit realm. Please wait. Clara felt a chill run down her spine as the room grew colder. Suddenly, text began to appear on the screen. Hello, Clara, it's Grandma. Clara's heart raced. The message continued, recounting details of their shared memories, things only her grandmother would know. She felt a mix of awe and unease, wondering if she was truly communicating with the spirit of her grandmother, or if it was an elaborate trick. As the conversation continued, the messages from her grandmother became increasingly unsettling. The spirit began to reveal dark family secrets, things Clara had never known. She was torn between disbelief and the eerie accuracy of the revelations. Then the tone shifted. The messages grew darker, filled with cryptic warnings and ominous predictions about Clara's future. Beware of the shadows, Clara. They're coming for you, one message read. Before Clara could type a response, her screen flickered and the room temperature plummeted. A cold, whispering voice filled the room, echoing the words on the screen. The veil is thin, Clara. You've opened a door that cannot be closed. Panicking, Clara tried to disconnect from the site, but her computer froze. The whispers grew louder, and she felt a presence in the room with her. Desperate, she grabbed her phone and called her friend Emily, who was well-versed in both technology and the occult. Emily arrived quickly, finding Clara huddled in a corner, trembling with fear. She immediately shut down the computer and performed a cleansing ritual to dispel any lingering spirits. As the ritual concluded, the room grew warmer and the whispers ceased. Clara felt a sense of relief, but remained deeply shaken. Emily inspected Clara's computer and discovered that it had been infected with a unique piece of malware, designed to create a deeply personalized and terrifying experience. The program had used Clara's online footprint to craft messages that would resonate with her on a personal level. However, the malware's origin was untraceable, and its creator remained a mystery. Determined to understand what had happened, Clara and Emily decided to delve deeper into the origins of the digital seance. They uncovered references to an ancient group of technomancers who believed that the digital realm could be used as a conduit to the spirit world. According to legend, these technomancers had created a network of haunted websites, each designed to lure in the curious and feed on their fear. Realizing the danger, Clara and Emily made it their mission to warn others about the digital seance. They published an account of their experience on various forums, urging people to steer clear of the site and similar dark corners of the deep web. Their story quickly spread, becoming a modern cautionary tale about the perils of mixing technology with the supernatural. Yet despite their warnings, the digital seance continued to exist, lurking in the shadows of the deep web, waiting for its next victim. Those who heard the story were left with a haunting reminder. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed, and the line between the digital and the paranormal is thinner than we might think. And in the depths of the internet, the spirits wait, ready to reach out from beyond the veil and into the digital world. The deep web is a labyrinth of hidden sites and secret communities, a place where curiosity can lead to dark and dangerous paths. Among the myriad of stories that emerge from its depths, none is as terrifying or as whispered about as the tale of the Red Room. James was a cybersecurity analyst by day, but by night he was an avid explorer of the deep web. He had seen his fair share of disturbing content, but his curiosity always pushed him further. One evening, he stumbled upon a forum thread that piqued his interest. The title simply read, "The Red Room, Enter at Your Own Risk." The posts in the thread were a mix of horror stories and cryptic warnings. Users claimed that the Red Room was a live streaming site where viewers could witness unspeakable acts of violence. Some insisted it was a myth, a digital boogeyman. But others swore it was real, and that those who watched were never the same again. James, always skeptical, decided to investigate. Following a series of intricate and encrypted links, James finally reached a site with a plain red background and a single button labeled Enter. With a deep breath, he clicked the button. The screen went black. Then a live feed began to play. The quality was surprisingly high, showing a dimly lit room with concrete walls. In the center of the room was a metal chair, empty but ominous. The chat box next to the video feed was active, filled with anonymous users typing frantically. "It's starting," one user wrote. Another replied, "You shouldn't be here." James felt a pang of fear, but couldn't tear his eyes away from the screen. The door in the video opened, and a hooded figure dragged a bound and gagged woman into the room, placing her in the chair. Her eyes were wide with terror, and muffled cries escaped her gag. James's heart raced. He tried to close the window, but his mouse wouldn't respond. Panic set in as the hooded figure turned to the camera and spoke in a distorted voice. "Welcome, new viewer. Now that you've seen, you cannot leave." The chat exploded with messages, some begging for mercy, others mocking the new victim. Suddenly, James's webcam light turned on. He stared in horror as his own face appeared in a small window on the screen. The hooded figure laughed, a chilling mechanical sound. "We see you, James," the figure said. "Welcome to the Red Room." Desperate, James ripped the power cord from his computer. The screen went dark, but his apartment was plunged into silence, broken only by his ragged breathing. He grabbed his phone and called his friend Lisa, a fellow cybersecurity expert, explaining what had happened. Lisa arrived quickly, finding James pale and shaking. Together, they examined his computer, discovering that it had been infected with a sophisticated piece of malware that allowed the site to take control of his webcam and microphone. Lisa managed to isolate the malware, but the damage was done. James couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Over the next few days, James became increasingly paranoid. He covered his webcam and avoided using his computer, but the sense of dread lingered. He started receiving strange messages on his phone from unknown numbers, each one containing a link. He deleted them immediately, but they kept coming. One night, James awoke to the sound of his phone buzzing. A new message had arrived, this time with a video file. Against his better judgment, he opened it. The video showed his own apartment, filmed from outside his window. The message read, "We are closer than you think. Terrified, James contacted Lisa and decided to leave town for a while. They hoped that by disconnecting, they could escape the reach of whoever was behind the Red Room. James stayed at a remote cabin off the grid, trying to regain some semblance of normalcy. But the fear followed him. One evening, while sitting by the fireplace, his phone buzzed again. It was a live stream link. He stared at it, paralyzed by fear. When he finally mustered the courage to open it, the screen showed the inside of the very cabin he was in, filmed from a hidden camera. The hooded figure appeared, this time without a mask, revealing a gaunt, expressionless face. "Did you really think you could escape?" the figure intoned. The screen flickered and the same red room appeared. This time the metal chair was empty, waiting. James's scream echoed through the cabin, but there was no one around to hear it. The stream continued, capturing every moment of his descent into madness until the screen finally went black. In the aftermath, James's disappearance became a mystery. Lisa tried to track him down, but all traces of his online activity had been erased. The legend of the Red Room grew, a cautionary tale about the dangers of exploring the deep web. Those who heard the story were left with a chilling warning. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed, and some secrets are better left undiscovered. And somewhere in the digital shadows, the Red Room waits for its next viewer, ever ready to ensnare another soul. The deep web is infamous for being a place where secrets best left hidden can be uncovered. Among the many eerie stories that circulate within its dark depths, one tale stands out, a tale of terror and mystery that has haunted even the most seasoned explorers of the digital underworld. Nina was a seasoned deep web researcher with a reputation for diving into the darkest corners of the internet. She was driven by an insatiable curiosity and a desire to uncover the truth behind the web's most chilling legends. One night, while browsing a particularly cryptic forum, she came across a thread titled "The Echoing Silence." The post was written by an anonymous user who claimed to have discovered a website that led to a series of inexplicable disappearances. According to the post, those who accessed the site would encounter a sequence of images and sounds that grew increasingly disturbing. The final image was said to show the viewer's greatest fear, and once seen, they would vanish without a trace, leaving only an eerie silence behind. The thread was filled with warnings and accounts from other users who claimed to have lost friends to the site. Intrigued and undeterred, Nina decided to investigate further. Using her expertise, Nina followed the obscure clues and coordinates left by the original poster. She navigated through layers of encrypted data and bypassed numerous security protocols until she finally reached the site. The web page was stark, with a minimalist design and a single line of text. "Enter if you dare to face the echoing silence." Below it was a button labeled "Begin." Nina clicked the button. The screen went black, and a series of haunting images flashed before her eyes. Desolate landscapes, decaying buildings, and distorted faces. The accompanying sounds were equally disturbing. Faint whispers, distant screams, and a low, droning hum that made her skin crawl. Despite the growing unease, Nina pressed on, determined to reach the end. As she progressed, the images and sounds became more personalized, touching on her own fears and insecurities. She saw flashes of her childhood home, long abandoned, and heard the voices of lost loved ones. The experience was deeply unsettling, but Nina's curiosity kept her going. Finally, the screen displayed a message: "Prepare to face your greatest fear." The final image appeared, and Nina's blood ran cold. It was a photograph of her apartment, taken from the perspective of her own webcam. She felt a chill as she realized someone had been watching her. Suddenly, the screen went dark, and a deafening silence filled the room. Her computer shut off, and no matter what she tried, she couldn't turn it back on. Panic set in as Nina felt a presence in the room with her. She could hear faint whispers, growing louder and more insistent. The air around her grew cold, and she felt an overwhelming sense of dread. Desperate for help, she grabbed her phone to call her friend Mark, a fellow deep web explorer. Mark arrived quickly, alarmed by Nina's frantic call. He found her in a state of shock, babbling about the echoing silence and the terrifying images she had seen. Together, they tried to reboot her computer, but it remained unresponsive. Mark decided to take it to a tech expert he knew, hoping to find some answers. The tech expert, David, examined the computer and discovered that it had been infected with a highly advanced and malicious program. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, designed to erase all traces of its activity and leave no evidence behind. Determined to help, David managed to retrieve a fragment of the data, revealing a hidden file labeled Echoing Silence.txt. Inside the file was a single line of text: "You have seen too much. The silence will claim you." As they read the message, the whispers returned, louder and more menacing. David's office filled with an oppressive silence, and the temperature dropped. Suddenly, David's screen flashed, displaying the same disturbing images Nina had seen. Realizing they were dealing with something beyond their understanding, Mark contacted Dr. Helena, a parapsychologist with experience in digital hauntings. Dr. Helena listened to their story and agreed to help. She explained that the echoing silence was a digital entity, feeding on fear and despair, and capable of manifesting itself in the physical world. To combat the entity, Dr. Helena devised a plan to perform a digital cleansing ritual using a combination of ancient rites and modern technology. They set up a secure location and prepared the necessary tools, a combination of encrypted codes, ritualistic symbols, and protective charms. The ritual began at midnight. As they recited the incantations and activated the encrypted codes, the whispers grew to a deafening roar. The room shook, and a shadowy figure began to materialize, writhing and thrashing in a desperate attempt to maintain its hold. With a final, powerful command, the entity let out a piercing scream and vanished, leaving behind an eerie silence. In the aftermath, Nina and her friends were exhausted but relieved. They knew the entity had been banished, but the experience left them forever changed. Nina's curiosity had led her to a terrifying encounter, but it also served as a warning to others about the dangers lurking in the deep web. The story of the echoing silence became a legend among deep web explorers, a cautionary tale reminding them to tread carefully. Those who heard the tale were warned that some secrets are best left undiscovered, and that the digital shadows might hide more than just data. They might hide nightmares waiting to be unleashed.